And welcome to another exciting episode of the Super Fantastic Exchange. My name is Gary. Guys, I can't tell you how excited I am to share with you today. I've got one of those leaders that, has been in my life. I have seen him do incredible things in several different areas. Just one of those amazing leaders that really sets the example of leadership in so many different ways. Guys, y'all give it up for none other than Kvon Naderi.
Hey, man. Thank you, Gary, for having me on.
Thank you. Could you hear your audience clapping? It's pretty impressive, man.
Oh, yeah. There it goes.
You get your own round of applause.
Yeah, we started a wave there.
Right?
A Zoom wave.
Individual ways.
Yes.
Hey, you said, Kvon, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself a little bit more. Tell us about who you are and what you do.
Thank you, Gary, for inviting me to your show. Honored to be considered as a person to provide thought leadership. My name is Kvon Naderi. I've been in the United States for over 30 years. I am an immigrant. I came here in the mid 80s from Iran and grew up in Los Angeles, California, and then migrated again to Texas 2010 through work. And then I've been a Texan here for about 12 years or so, and we got plugged into our church family kind of right away, and we've been actively involved in our community and various work things. But it's as we'll discuss, it all kind of centers around being the same person everywhere you go. It's so difficult when people are one way at home, another way at work, and then they're one way on the field if they're coaching. You got to really bring the full package wherever you go. So that's been kind of one of my key forms of simplifying it for yourself as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And Kvon, what a journey you've had, immigrating from one country to another and then from one state to another. I mean, you've had quite the journey. So I imagine you've experienced so many different things. And what I love, what you just said was you package yourself. You are who you are at home, at work, in the community, wherever you're at, you're that package deal. And I have to admit, I love connecting with leaders, and I consider one of those leaders, and taking a peek behind the curtain to figure out what inspires these incredible leaders. And before I ask you those questions, I can attest that you have such a gift at leadership because you always put relationship first and then the task. And that has always been impressive to me because I've seen you communicate and work with so many different people on so many different levels, and yet you're still the same package. No matter who you're communicating with or whatever the task may be, it's still the same Kvon, no matter what. And that's always been impressive to me. I've always loved to see you work around the area and in the community and in the church. It's just been awesome. But so Kvon, I reached out to you and I said, hey, what inspires you? You're such an incredible leader. So I want to know what inspires you. And the first topic you shared with me was family.
Yes.
So what does that mean? How does family inspire you?
Well, I started out pre-med, and then I studied anthropology, which is the study of like human beings, past, present, and culture and language and all that stuff. But really what that does is everything really centers around the family unit. If you try to be a better person as an individual, and you be a good functioning person in your family, whether if you're married, being a great husband, or being a good spouse, being a good father if you have kids, those things really then translate into being a good person in your community and being able to extend that into what we call our family of choice. So these are people that are beyond those who are in your bloodline, but these are people that you choose to do life with. And those family relationships, if we can really start to extend them out, really do have contributing effects of being able to change community, being able to change the world. But it all really starts at that family level. If we can start really focusing everyone at that, and all of that really falls into the guidelines of servant leadership. Servant leadership is a very specific core value in our home, and where that does is really putting aside your own personal things. It's like, what does this mean to me? But really looking at, like, what can I do? Like JFK said, not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Really taking that approach into wherever you go, whether it's work, instead of saying, well, HR is not doing this for me, or like, my boss isn't taking care of me. What are you doing to contribute to your team? What are you doing to contribute to your upline? What are you doing to contribute to your downline? If you can keep that mentality, then you're never really at a disadvantage waiting on others to do something for you.
That's so good. And Kvon, I love how you start off with, your family is a testing ground, if you will, of developing relationship, because it all comes down to relationship. If you get your family right, then you can kind of expand out into a family of choice, work those relationships. And I like how you kind of work into it all develops relationships through servant leadership. It's about giving, it's about adding value. And I think it's such a wise approach. And Kvon, I love your example of, hey, HR is not doing XYZ. Well, what can I bring to it? How can I help it? You're constantly looking to what value can I add, not only in work, but relationships. I mean, that's such a powerful statement.
Yeah, I mean, people go from relationship to relationship thinking it's the other person. And that goes the same way with, people changing jobs. You can go to one company to another company or change departments. But wherever you go, there you are. If you haven't been instrumental in affecting change, everywhere you go, there's going to be a point where you're going to reach those boundaries, and you're going to feel unsatisfied. You're going to feel that they're not meeting your needs, and then your only default is to just change location and change your environment. And really, if this kind of feeds into the second point of if you're an agent of change, if you're able to affect change, if you're able to bring your 1%, and you bring your gifts and talents and say, okay, look, these aren't things for me, but these are things that I can do to make the environment that I'm at better. Why am I here? Why was I chosen to be here out of all the different candidates who had this opportunity, or including like your spousal situation? Like, so if you're in a marriage, I'm sure there were choices from both sides, right? Like you had an opportunity and she had an opportunity, and then you guys chose, say, okay, we're going to make this work. You have to then say, okay, what are the gifts and talents that we're bringing to this particular relationship? What are the gifts and talents we're bringing to raising a family? What are the gifts and talents we're bringing to this work situation? Obviously, projects have a beginning and an end, but everybody can have an opportunity to transform and become better and learn and have takeaways. And what did we do right?
Yeah.
High five. Great. Okay. What could we have done better? And then really make those incremental changes so that you can do things better the next time around.
That's amazing. And I love how you transition from family to change, an agent of change. I think, when you bring value, when you make a choice to be wherever you are, then you have a choice to either bring value or take value. And I see you, Kvon, you've always been successful in my eyes in the work that you do, in the places that I've seen you do work, because you made that choice to, one, maintain the relationship, and two, add value. I mean, that's a choice you've made, and it's consistent, and that is what creates success, in my opinion.
Yeah, everything around us, Gary, changes, right? Like, so there are some people who resist change, or they want things the way they are to remain the same, but that I think that's a little bit contradictory to the way the universe works, right? The universe around us is showing us that everything changes. Seasons change, seeds grow and harvest, and there's new generation. So everything changes. Now it can either change for the better or it can change for the worse. Now you can observe the change or be affected by that change, or you can make change happen. And when you're an instrument of change, then you're less susceptible to feeling anxiety or to feeling depression or things like that, where like things are happening to me. Like a lot of and I'm not, boiling down, psychology or anything like that, but really if you're at the receiving end of change, there's a possibility that you're not for, or again, you're this was not something that you had in mind. But if you have an opportunity to affect change, whether that's voting, whether that's making an input into a project, whether that's even including selecting paint colors for redesigning your house, right? So if you have an input, then you feel like your voice is heard, or whether you're in a democracy, that you at least put in your vote. And if things aren't going the way you wanted to, it's not as simple as just moving states. It's not as simple as like, okay, I'm going to go into a county where everybody agrees with me. Because guess what? The dynamics of that county are going to change. And what are you going to come up with? Move again? You're going to have to see how you can affect those communities and how you can affect those environments around you. But I think in my particular life, I've experienced a lot of change, and as a form of survival, I've become really good at handling change, and to the point where professionally, I come in to do transformation in different organization and companies that I've been fortunate enough to be part of a transformation journey, part of affecting change, hopefully for the better.
Yeah. Oh, and I can imagine so, because I've seen your work firsthand, and it has always been for the better. And Kvon, the cool thing that I love, I always kind of like to boil down what you shared, was that common denominator is always you, and everything above that, change, transformation, that's always going to be different. But that common denominator and that equation, that formula of the world, is always you. Whatever you bring to it's going to make a difference, good or bad. Indecision or decision or no decision, that's a decision you make to contribute to whatever environment you're in.
So like you have servant leadership where the focus is on the others, right? But then you have to look at the fact that like you are very much instrumental in all of that journey. The flip side of that is, I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to focus on individuality. I'm going to focus on self-improvement. I'm going to focus on what do I get out of this, right? And then when you do that, then you end up putting undue pressure on yourself, because when something isn't going right, you feel like, well, I failed because I didn't do everything right. And it's like, no, you had an input, but there's a greater environment and greater teamwork that's at play. So if you can put effort into making the team better, right? Like no one person can drive a project. That's why there's project teams. But without the relationship, without team building, without having a centralized focus and getting buy-in on everyone. So that's all relationships up. If you're going to go and say, this is what we're doing, it's difficult to have a successful project or a successful journey, because people are being told what to do and people are being forced into an action, whether it's dictatorial, whether it's from top down, management style or whatever. They're going to resist it. They're going to resist that change, and you're not going to get the level of success that you would have achieved had everybody went pushing into the same direction.
Kvon, that's so good. Boiling it down, family, relationships, and being that change agent. It's so good. It's so powerful. Kvon, I could talk to you for a long time, and I have in different circumstances. Well, we're coming close to the end of our time, and I want to give you a chance to share a closing thought before we wrap up.
I know we're both also. I noticed we're both hand talkers now that I have the screen side by side. It's like,
Right.
yeah. I noticed that people say that about me and say, hey, you want to keep Kvon quiet, tie his
That's
hands
hard.
up. But it's been an honor, and I do see myself at some point being able to consult at various specific positions, whether it's a short-term project or whether it's a specific need. In the upcoming seasons, maybe I'll come back and join when that's up and running. But for the most part, I've been in various organizations doing what needs to be done. I'll leave everybody with this. Take a look at where you're at right now. Don't worry about the past. Just look at where you're at right now. Look at who's around you and say, what can I do for the people that are in my fill in the blank life, with people at my work, people at my team, people in my marriage, right? What can I do today? And then as you begin to do those things, and if that really then takes on, then there is somebody that you're part of their team that's now taking care of you. So that's kind of like the pushing it forward. Like, yes, in an organization or a team, it works when it's a healthy organization, when everyone's doing it. If everyone's doing it, you don't have to worry about what about me, because you're somebody else's care and someone's taking care of you. So as long as you take care of what's in front of you, it should work itself out.
That's so awesome. Take care of the here and now, the people around you, and everything else will work its way out for the benefit, for the
Absolutely.
better. Kvon, amazing. You brought the energy, you brought the knowledge and the wisdom. I can't thank you enough for joining me here on the Super Fantastic Exchange. Guys, make sure you check out Kvon. He's on social media. This guy is sharp. I always love hanging around Kvon because I know I'm always going to learn something. So thank you so much, Kvon, for being a part of the Super Fantastic Exchange. Thank you guys for watching this episode, and we will see you on the next episode. Thank you, guys.